Hi there, how you doing? Welcome to the Football Show on the PLZ YouTube channel, sponsored by Indigo. And I know what you're thinking right away, doesn't Peter Martin look great today? They must have been using that new profile pic app on the phone. But no, it's actually me, Tam Cowan, sitting in for Peter. I might as well tell you straight, Peter was out at an event last night, tell a couple of jokes, and he's been cancelled, so we'll see how it goes. But listen, I'm delighted to say, mainly because we're going to get a fight in the studio here, I'm joined by former Partick Thistle player Richard Foster and current Partick Thistle director Alan Ruff. Surely the man hunted him. So boys, do you want to settle it like men right at the start? You alright, Richard? Aye?
Aye, I'm not bad, and I'm not fighting him. He was a goalie, mind. They're all mental. Exactly.
You keep your fighting for teammates and supporters, don't you?
Well, see, when you get battered by Danny Swanson, you don't start fights with anybody.
Right. So, Richard, what's happening? I mean, I'm sitting here next to you, fit young man, still got a few years left. I'm sure. What age are you?
36.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were a lot younger. Ruffy, who else did you get rid of at Partick Thistle?
We released, I think it was 10 players. I think it was 4 or 5 were on loan, and the rest never got offered new contracts.
Right, and
I think that'll be the given this year, won't it? You know, at the end of the season, there's always lots of players getting.
Aye. Don't try and justify it that way to me.
I personally, I wouldn't let them go, as you know.
Right. But Richard, all joking aside, I mean, you're 36. I mean, Ruffy, you played until you were what?
39.
Right, there you go. So you're still on the lookout. If there's anybody watching today, club chairman.
Aye, I still want to play if possible. Obviously, I know people see my age before anything else, but I can still do the distance and run about on the pitch. So I still want to play if possible, but if not, then I'll need to look at other avenues. Right,
okay. Well, sadly for Richard and Ruffy, no celebrations for Partick Thistle this season. But last night, of course, Celtic clinched the title at Tannadice, 4 points clear at the top with the final game to go against their European compadres, Motherwell. More about Motherwell in a wee minute. But a big night, of course, after all the flack you go first half of the season, maybe the first quarter. Big night for Ange Postecoglou, and let's hear what he made of it.
Fair to say, fairly overwhelming. Just really proud of the players, the staff, everyone involved. We started so far back from in terms of a starting point, and to end up where we are today is quite an unbelievable achievement.
There you go. I mean, Richard, after 6 or 7 games, the bottom line was they were wanting him out.
It was a strange start, but I think through it all he remained pretty calm. I can remember him kind of biting back at a few journalists, just kind of saying, "Look, we're 6 games in, calm down. It's a long way to go." And he's been proven right, because they have domestically been the best team. I think it's 30 games they went unbeaten. It's a fantastic run of games, and obviously they came out on top against Rangers a couple of times and managed to overturn a 6 point difference in the new year. So full credit to him and the players, because like you say, it was a pretty shaky start, but I think he had full confidence in the players and his own ability, and obviously he was proven right.
Ruffy, well deserved, aye?
I have to say so. I think they've been the most exciting team in the league. The consistency level, the way they attack teams. He sticks to his principles of what they're going to do. They don't panic. And the players are the same, so I think they have been the most exciting team to watch.
Right, they've been exciting. There've been a few sweats along the way, including for Big Ange, who says this has been a tiring campaign.
It's fair to say it's taken every ounce of me. I've put everything into it I had to, because I knew how big a challenge it was, and you kind of we've now done it, and the overriding emotion is just one of sort of, I guess, relief and satisfaction.
Now, where I need your help with here, Richard, I'm so glad that you're in with your trendy gear and your £800 trainers and all that. There is a gentleman called Snoop Dogg. I've never actually seen him in concert myself. Who is he?
He's a rapper.
He's a rapper, right, okay, and he's apparently been invited to Celtic's big party. Good move?
Aye, it would be great for the players, especially obviously if he performs. really listen to a lot of his music, but the more mainstream stuff that I do enjoy.
Ruffy, have you got a favourite Snoop Dogg?
No, he's got an ad
from the hit parade.
He's got an advert out there now, as you know. He has singing in one. What is it? Are we allowed to say what?
Can't remember what it's for.
He's got an advert that's quite good.
Right, it's apparently for Just Eat, I'm hearing.
Just Eat, so
aye.
I'm not the same as Richard, I'm not into that kind of...
Right, you know what I hate about this? So, see all this when I mean, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but the last time Motherwell played Celtic at Fir Park, I don't remember bumping into Snoop Dogg in the Electric Bar down the road for the stadium. You know, he's maybe not a diehard. See, at events like this, would it not always be better to do a raffle with maybe season ticket holders and say, do you know what, we're going to have one of our absolute dyed-in-the-wool fans come to Sunwatch rather than drag in this fella?
Well, I suppose it probably would be for the fans, but just having someone of kind of his, I was going to say notoriety, but you know, he's a pretty big deal in the old rap scene. He seems to be a pretty cool guy, starred in a few movies. I don't say anything wrong with it.
Do we know which Celtic song he's going to rap?
That would be good. If anybody's got any suggestions, send them in. Drop us a wee comment on that. A great Celtic song that he could rap. That would be sensational. And of course, I'm guessing as well, Ruffy, that the very fact, as he always told us while playing his violin, that he was a Celtic fan since he was a fetus. Brendan Rodgers will surely be coming up for the title party then, yes?
Oh, he'd be more than welcome, I think, this time. As long as he stays up in the stand.
Well, other games, of course, last night. St Johnstone, if you like, put the final nail in Dundee's coffin with a 1-0 win against Aberdeen. Need to talk to you about Aberdeen, Richard, for obvious reasons. What a terrible, terrible season. Yeah,
it's been awful. I think you know, they brought Stephen Glass in, and I can remember saying at the start of the season, you know, a 6th spot for Aberdeen would be a good season because there's a transition, because of the turnover of players, the new management, the young management team of himself and Scott Brown, and obviously the other guy from down the road. But I don't know, I think when you give someone a job and it's their first job, you know, Aberdeen's a huge club with a huge expectation, but then I think give them the full season, because I don't, you know, it wouldn't have turned out any worse than it has just now. So you bring them in, you give them an opportunity, and then as soon as things don't, I mean, you're then very vocal about how much you back them earlier in the season, and then as soon as things start to turn, the fans start to turn a wee bit, it's like, oh, we'll get rid of him, we'll get someone else in. And I just think, give Stephen Glass the full season and see if there's any kind of improvement. If not, then there's a conversation to be had. But the fact that you bring him in, you give him his first job, which we all know is going to be a huge task, but then you get rid of him when it's not going well, and it's, you know, it's no great for the club, it's no great for Stephen Glass. But I mean, I don't know, they've got a weird squad, because individually they've got talented players, but collectively they don't seem to be able to form a decent side. And obviously losing another game last night, I know for them it doesn't really mean much, but still, Aberdeen fans, you know, they pay their money, they expect to see their team win a few games.
Absolutely. I mean, I've said it for years, and I'll just wind up any Celtic Rangers fans tuned in, and now I reckon the Aberdeen fans have got the best travelling support in the country, because every cashier at every club is rubbing their hands if you know Aberdeen are coming to town. And even though they've won barely a thing in decades, they still turn out to support their team. You can't accuse them of being glory hunters when you look at their list of honours. Ruffy, what about Jim Goodwin then? Do you think he'll fix it over the summer?
Yeah, I think there'll be a massive clear out there. I think we're all just waiting to see what he's going to do. We're all waiting to see what kind of calibre of player he's going to bring in. You know, we've spoke about a few people that he might identify. It could be the people that he's worked with already, or he might have some people, contacts down south. But Aberdeen, we're talking about beforehand, I think, apart from Rangers and Celtic and Hearts, I think everybody else has been horrendous this year.
Callum Davidson, of course, right? We need to talk about Callum, to be fair to him, because he's had a terrible time of it. I've kept saying to my mucker, Stuart Cosgrove, that if 2 years ago you'd said, right, here's how it's going to pan out for St Johnstone, you're going to win the cup double, and then you're going to struggle the season after, but you'll end up in the playoff with a chance of surviving. Any St Johnstone fan, you'd have taken that, wouldn't you, Richard?
I think so, and I think the way St Johnstone performed like previously is why the St Johnstone fans are probably kind of more expectant than, you know, especially last season with the 2 cups. But as a player, you want to win things, and yes, you don't want to be relegated, you don't want to be in relegation playoffs, but if you said to me, even as a player, never mind a manager, you'll win both cups, next season you'll be fighting relegation, fine, I'll take it all day long.
Yep. Well, we know now, of course, it's going to be Arbroath or Inverness, Caledonian Thistle in the final against Callum Davidson St Johnstone. Let's hear what Callum makes of that.
All we really wanted was the result to get us into the playoffs and give ourselves a chance, but the performance gives us confidence. We've got to take that, we've got to build on it, we've got to go there with a spring in our step, and make sure we try and stay in this league.
And unfortunately, as we just mentioned there, a spring in the step is not how you would describe Jim Goodwin. And now let's hear from him.
The game as a whole probably just about sums up how the season has been, really. We've had plenty of possession of the ball again tonight, but just weren't able to do enough at the top end of the pitch to cause St Johnstone any real problems. In complete control of the game from the first whistle, first 15 minutes, played the game in St Johnstone's half, and then one ball over the top ends up in the back of our net. And it's as simple as that.
And there you go, and as eagle-eyed viewers may have spotted, I believe that was Paul Hartley's other half, just standing
I think
behind
Lisa,
Jim Goodwin. Lovely girl at an off up in Aberdeen. Absolutely brilliant. And so there we go. Rangers, of course, they, if you like, repaid the favour to Motherwell after we shifted a fixture for them by humping Ross County 4-1 last night. And of course, when you look at the league, that resulted in a lot of celebrations at Fir Park. But 4-1 when Rangers, they were never going to win the league, of course. Celtic claimed it last night. They've got the Europa League final and a Scottish Cup to look forward to. Was that a nice wee smattering of professionalism there last night, Richard, to still go out and score 4 goals?
Yeah, and but to be fair, it's probably I can't see at the weekend them playing his strongest team. I think he played it last night. Obviously, they're all in good form. Of course, they are. We've seen that in Europe, and it was a chance for them to kind of continue that on. They were at home as well, so the fans are still expectant. They would have Rangers would have wanted to make sure that Celtic had to win the league themselves by getting the point they needed, as opposed to Ross County taking something off of them. So yeah, professional performance. They're looking good for those 2 games that you mentioned coming up. Huge week for them, and it's kind of tough one on Ross County because they've done so well this season. They've just kind of fallen at the final hurdle. Aye,
no, Richard, I remember asking you on the radio several years ago who you support, and you played your get out of jail free card by saying, Tam, I support whoever it is that's paying my wages. Nobody is paying your wages right now. Richard, who do you support?
I support my wife because she's paying my wages.
I'm just getting towards, if you've a wee soft spot for Rangers, do you have a ticket for Seville?
No, I don't have a ticket. No, I supported Rangers when I was youngster, but then once I signed for Aberdeen, I just fell out of it, and I stopped really becoming a football fan of a certain club. I'm a football fan, and that's doing the media stuff. I'm a Scottish football fan. I love watching Scottish football. Even last a few seasons ago when I wasn't in the Championship, I would rather watch a Championship game on a Friday night than any of the games down in England. I just like the Scottish game. But so I'm not a specific fan of any team, but I do hope Rangers go on and win the Europa League just because it would be huge for them, but it'd be huge for Scottish football as well.
Do you know how much Motherwell will get if they win it?
I have no idea.
£365,000.
Well,
if Rangers win the Europa League final.
Yeah.
So every team should be.
Every team gets that,
Absolutely. So you're not actually going to the game. I don't know. Have you got a media gig?
I'm going to the game. Is to do the commentary, but I'm not. I don't have a ticket to actually.
And who are you doing it for that particular evening?
my currently one of my only employers, BBC.
Right, okay. Tell the truth. Me and Cosgrove talk about this all the time. It must help, the media gigs, when you've got Rangers on your CV. Did you write that in bold capitals on the CV?
I've done pretty much all the European ties this season, so it certainly does help having played there, yeah.
Aye, absolutely. I think you're more than decent on the telly. Good on you. Ruffy, you did a bit of that in the past, didn't you? Apart from working with Peter, you've been up in gantries with the Archie McPhersons of this world, haven't you?
Yes, we have. We have. In fact, my very, very first taste of it was with Archie, and Archie actually put me in it. We were up in the old Hampden bit and we were way up the top, and it was Rangers versus Dundee United. It was nothing each. The game finished nothing each.
That's the one who ran extra time.
Aye, and Archie handed me a piece of paper. Keep talking for 5 minutes. I need to go to the loo. And he left me.
It wasn't even as posh as that.
It was nothing happening. No, they weren't even playing, so I'm going along the lines of, and yes, there is Derek Johnson having an orange, or it could be a tea or a coffee maybe, and see when he come back, the sweat was absolutely dripping down my neck.
Hey, Archie was sweating and all, sitting in one of the cubicles with a sheepskin coat on. But that's true, aye, he was a made for a wee number 2 during a live game. Absolutely sensational stuff. Ruffy, what about yourself, Peter? Any chance of a wee gig at the Europa League final?
No, I don't think we are. I think we're. Well, we'll do never know from Monday right up to the game. We'll be covering everything, but not actually on the night. I think we'll just have to be like everybody else. We'll just have to watch it live.
Good. Well, sadly, and I can't tell a lie, and I'm not looking for a wee bonus for Peter for sitting in this seat today. What I didn't see live was Motherwell's terrific 2-1 win last night. I've been absolutely, you can still hear it in my voice maybe, and I'm a bit blocked up. Absolutely choked with a cold. I've got a busy weekend ahead of me, so I played it safe, Richard, and I just went to my bed last night, a couple of bottles of water and a packet of Sudafed, and that was it. And my wife was away as well. I'll tell you candidly, my wee lassie, are away for a few days, and the cat's away. The mice lie in bed.
Go to bed early.
So I'm really, really gutted. I missed obviously the win that put us into Europe, which is tremendous. And I want a wee tribute to him from your good self, Richard. I missed the very emotional scenes at the end as Keith Lasley waved farewell to the Motherwell fans, to Motherwell Football Club, to Fir Park, before taking up his role at St Mirren. 20 years service to Motherwell, of course. Keith Lasley, Richard.
Just, a great professional as a player. Just, a horrible wee guy to play against, just because he was just one of those little buzz bombs, just run about, would kick you. But he was actually technically a very good football player when you gave him time. Played against him. Obviously, I'm that old that I played against him. But then, obviously, a service to Motherwell when he went into the coaching and being part of the management team and stuff. And I think you'll know better than I, but he's very well thought of at Motherwell. But he's an opportunity has come up for him to move on, and he's obviously taken it. And good luck to him. I hope it goes well for him. It's obviously a different role he's doing than he has done previously. But like I say, good luck to him and hope he does well. But he's been a fantastic servant to Motherwell.
Yeah, because he's going to be effectively the CEO at St Mirren, and of course he's going to be above, if you like, Stephen Robinson, who had a great relationship with. At Motherwell, so that's maybe a good thing. That's him getting a wee partnership going straight away.
I think he'll find it hard just to doing one job. I think you'll see him about. I think you'll see him about the dugout. You'll see him, doing a lot of the things at the club. Because he's been hands-on at Motherwell for so long. So I think he'll be the same as at Mum.
Aye, and he's done this course, this kind of business management course. A lot of them seem to do it via, is it Manchester Uni?
I think so. Yeah, it's not really something that catches my eye at all. But it's part of the game that I don't fully understand. The transfers, budgets, and all that kind of stuff. But if you take that course and you kind of get really into it, then it's it's a great position. You're going, like you say, he's essentially the CEO. He's going to be probably in charge of transfers, budgets. And it's a weird kind of role reversal for him now being ahead of the manager. But them having a good relationship will work. I think you see successful clubs. There tends to be a great relationship between either a manager and the owner, or a manager and the CEO type person. So hopefully for St Mirren they can get it right and bring in the players that the manager needs.
Yeah, and I mean Ross County, any fans that are tuned in, they've had a great season as well. They won't be too enamoured. But the fact, of course, that Hearts unquestionably played a kind of weaker team last night to Motherwell's benefit, but Hearts have got to look forward. That's par for the course, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. I think the reason that teams have squads are for situations like this. Obviously, injuries and suspensions, but situations where we've done well enough that we can rest a few players. We've got a huge game coming up that we want to win, want to be fresh for. They've had their injury problems as well, so I've got no issue at all with Hearts playing out. You say weak inside, it's probably just a not as well as many games in the side as previously, but they're professional football players. They're at Hearts, they're good players. So no issue at all. Obviously worked out well for Motherwell, didn't work out for Ross County, but that wasn't the game that it didn't work out. I think finishing sixth for Ross County has been a fantastic season. It's considering that they were bottom of the league early in the season.
And I even heard some idle, perhaps, speculation this week, Ruffy, other clubs sniffing about Malky Mackay. I dare say, no harm again to Ross County, but he'd obviously had a managerial career south of the border with bigger clubs, you would have to say. Does this look to you as if it could be a stepping stone? Because he's gained a lot of respect since getting back there to Ross County.
Yeah, I think that's the word. I think, he knew himself, he had to get some respect back, and that's what he's done. He's went to the SFA and did particularly well. Took the Scotland team for a couple of games, then he's went to Ross County and did very, very well. The Hibs job is the one everybody's talking about, but it looks as if they're going to go down the avenue of somebody down in England, so he might miss out on that one, because I don't think he's in the three that they're talking about. But no, he's had a successful season, and I do think he will move on to bigger things. But while he's at Ross County, he'll be enjoying it.
Do you think they can get an experienced manager, Hibs? See, when they've got the way they sign players.
I know.
Surely most managers want to come in and have autonomy, like I want to sign these players. So if you've got surely that's better fitted to a younger manager who doesn't really know what he wants.
Yeah, well, I know they've tried that. I said the other day, whoever's getting an interview, that's the first question.
Yeah,
who's picking the players?
Because the Hibs fans are no stupid. They'll detect that right away. They'll know if the manager that is brought in is just there as a patsy, and he's going to accept all the players that come in, or if it had been old school, the sort of manager that Hibs need now is like a Brian Clough guy who was absolutely his own man. So it's going to be very, very interesting. The Hibs fans that are tuned in, gives you runners and riders for that job. Ruffy, would you like to talk us through the highlights of the 0-0 draw between St Mirren and Livy, please?
Yeah, and obviously I did see the highlights last night. I think it lasted about 2 or 3 minutes. It was, it's an end of the season game, isn't it? You just want the final whistle to go, and I'm sure the players and everybody associated it was just, let's move on and let's get the excitement, as you'll know, as a supporter, what kind of players are we going to be bringing in? I think that's what as a supporter now, you're looking at what the managers are going to do at the club to make them better.
Richard, top professional, been there and done it. Current professional, I could easily have said they're formal, but no, you're still looking for another club. You could fill in some gaps for me here, because on Sunday night, I'm actually emceeing the Livingstone Player of the Year event. Highlight for me, to be honest with you, is going to get the chance to meet wee Davy Martindale. I think he's a cracking character. I've never ever met him. Looking forward to that. What are other pointers? Look back at the Livingstone season. What's the things that I must mention on the night?
I don't know. I thought you were going to ask me for
who do you think's going to win it then?
Well, the Player of the Year.
Yeah.
I think Forrest has had a good season.
Right.
Bruce Anderson's done really well.
Bruce Anderson keeps getting quoted.
Divine. I think Divine's had a tremendous season.
Young, big Obelai. I like him.
I bet they wish they'd taken him earlier. We saw him first hand in the games that we played, and I think they had to wait to January to get him back. Because he was on loan at Arbroath. But
no, Obelai was at Queen of the South. No, that was Nubley.
I'm talking about Nubley.
Right.
I bet they wish they could get him there a bit earlier.
And what about Davy Martindale himself? I mean, there was some talk the other day about, I think it was Crawley Town, interested in taking him away from Livingston. Has he got a chance of the Hibs job?
Again,
in what category would he fall into? If you saw Davy Martindale at Hibs, do you think he'll tell Ron Gordon what's that? Or would he just put
again,
up there?
Similar to you, I've never met David Martindale, but from the little bits I hear and what I've seen, he doesn't seem like he's someone who's told what to do. He seems to be in charge, which I think, I don't know, I'm kind of probably young in terms of coaching and management, but I'm old school in that I think a manager should be in charge. I think, if you go in there and if you want a way of playing, then you need the players that can play the way you want to play. Now, I'm not one for going, this is my style and this is how you must play and you must give me these players. I think within that, you need to be able to coach whatever you have initially. Aye. But I don't see David Martindale going in there and someone's telling him which players he's getting. But then in saying that, it's a huge job.
Absolutely. Right, well, let's have a wee look at the league table. Lovely wee sight there for a Motherwell fan. 1 game to go, of course. And really the only issue to be settled now is St Johnstone are second bottom. They're eagerly waiting to see who they play in the playoff final. Do you still fancy St Johnstone? Richard, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I think St Johnstone are, they've not had a great season, but I would suspect they'd be too strong for both Arbroath and Inverness, whoever make it. Obviously, I've got a soft soft spot for St Johnstone. Wouldn't want to see them go down. But I think even despite the season they've got, I think they would be better. And I think Inverness, if they get to the final, they'll be dead on their feet because of all the games. And I think St Johnstone played Arbroath earlier in the season and beat them relatively comfortably at Arbroath. So I would fancy St Johnstone to beat whoever they face in the final.
Ruffy, it's beautifully poised. It's going to be Arbroath versus Inverness, Caledonian Thistle, 0-0. Dick Campbell sounded quietly confident. He reckons there'll be a bigger crowd at Gayfield than they had at the Caledonian Stadium. Is that still what they call it? It's hard to keep up. What's St Mirren's ground called right just now?
I've got no idea. It's got about 4 different names.
Tricky.
They've all changed. Yeah.
That's what I always say, Richard, for day one. See, if I don't care who it was, Anne Summers wanted to sponsor Motherwell and insisted on it being called the Anne Summers Stadium. I would take the money, say thank you very much, because everybody would just still call it Fir Park. It's free money. Free money.
Just open a wee shop down in the.
Look, he's way ahead of me. That's it. Can you get us any discount, Tom? It'd certainly be a buzz about the place.
Certainly would, aye.
But Ruffy, we were talking there, as I say, about this the forthcoming playoff final. If you were St Johnstone manager Callum Davidson, having seen Inverness and Arbroath quite a few times this season, who would you be wanting to play? Who are St Johnstone wanting to play? Who's the weaker team?
I don't think any one of them is weaker than the other. I think this will be very tight. I think there'll only be one goal in it. I think both of them are quite strong defensively. They don't tend to score a lot of goals, so I think it'll be pretty tight.
Any of the 3 teams don't.
Yeah, exactly, but I think St Johnstone have now picked up a draw, a win. They're getting into the game, I'm going to say confident, but they're getting in a lot more confident than what they were when they were getting beat all the time. So I'm like Richard, I think St Johnstone. But if you're asking me Arbroath, I'm going to go Arbroath. I just think the home advantage. I think they've got more goal scorers on their side than what Inverness have.
And I mean, after, when I was looking at the league table there, after the season that we've had, it's been utterly bizarre. At the Motherwell Player of the Year event Saturday, I can't wait to speak to Graham Alexander, see what he makes of it. I was saying to you before we came on air, Richard, it was a bit of a sliding doors moment, perhaps, with Ricky Lammy's goal at the aforementioned Livingstone. It was a late goal that got us into the top 6, deprived Livingstone, and then a couple of things have clicked into place ever since. Whereas, as Graham Alexander himself knows, if we hadn't get that late goal, all the fans that were jumping up and down, getting after Heed and celebrating and getting ready to party, they'd have been flaming the man. It's a strange old game, man.
It certainly is, and I actually feel for Alexander, because a lot of time I've seen him this season after games, he's cut a very, very frustrated figure. But I think because you get teams who are relatively poor for the entire season, but Motherwell have had spells, whether it's one game here or there or a half in a game, where they actually play really good football. You'll know yourself, and they actually look good, and they can go from one game when they play really well and look good and score a couple, and then you see them the next week and it's like a different team has turned up and replaced them. And I think that would be the most frustrating thing, the lack of consistency, because they do have on their day, they do knock the ball about well and they've got goal scorers in their team, but they just kind of go between being good and being rubbish. There doesn't seem to be anywhere in between, and that would be the frustration for him.
We have won, this was an amazing stat a Motherwell fan sent to me this morning, we've won 66% of our games this season in the past week. I mean, that's astonishing.
It is, and
anywhere in Europe.
But there you go. But that's like you say, that little, that goal, you get into top 6, gives you a little bit of a boost, and then suddenly you go from not worrying about a relegation battle, because I don't think they ever would have had to, but it's either a relegation battle or it's a damp squib game, to now we can qualify for Europe. So that change of mentality.
Perfect example of being a supporter is hang on to the end.
Aye.
Hang on to the end, because you never know what's going to happen. You can have a bad start, a reasonable middle, or whatever, twist it whatever way you want. But you're in Europe now, I'm asking you one. You've got the motorhome.
Yes.
Where are you hoping? Draw? What kind of draw are you looking for?
Well, everybody keeps saying to me with the motorhome that you need to go to northern Spain So, Richard, I don't know how you're in the European football, but is there a chance that we could get a wee Spanish team for that neck of the woods that maybe sneaked into the Europa League conference?
Or
do they just, all Spanish clubs just get straight into the
No, there'll be one that'll be in the Conference League, I'm sure. Surely, if anywhere in Spain would be a good trip for you.
What about Albania?
I'd go anywhere. Listen, hey, you know what? I never thought the old passport would be coming out this season. If I take you right back, Richard's quite right. Away at the start of the season, probably our best performance to date was at home to Hibs. First weekend of the season, we lost 3-2, I think it was, but we were really, really good. But that was coming at the time where, and Graham Alexander maybe wasn't quite tuned into us, we lost to Airdrie, our mortal enemies. Forget about Hamilton Accies, that's friendly rivalry, but it was always Motherwell Airdrie. We lost to them in the League Cup, and there had been a few growls ever since, until very recently. You had to go back to Boxing Day last year when we'd won our last game. But you know what? I mean, I think my granny, I've not got any of my granny still surviving, Richard, but I think one of them may have died this Saturday afternoon if we hadn't picked up a bit of forum and had this Player of the Year event to host, because the place would have been like a morgue, whereas it's going to be a wee party atmosphere. We'll have the beach balls and the sombreros. It's going to be fantastic. Now, you mentioned earlier, guys, about the Hibs job, right? Of course, there are proper names in the frame. What do you know about Lee Johnson?
It's quite strange. I played Lee Johnson, who was at Bristol City, very, very briefly. Obviously, his dad's a relatively successful manager, but he seems like a good coach. I think he was at Sunderland. He was at most recently.
Yep.
And they were doing okay, and then he got punted for there.
Do you remember his last game in charge at Sunderland?
They got pumped 6-0.
6-0 by Bolton.
I think they'd had a season where they actually were doing okay, but they had 3 or 4 really big defeats, which never looks good for a manager. But I think he likes his teams to play a certain way. He was a ball playing footballer. A centre midfielder would go and would want to play 1,000 passes. I think that's the kind of way he wants his teams to play. But anyone I've spoke to who's worked with him seems to think he's a good guy. I know Jamie McAllister, who tends to be his assistant. He's another good guy. So I think he would be a good manager to play for. And like I say, it would just be whether he fits into the way things work at Hibs. And
with apologies to Lee Johnson, no chance he's tuned in. I'd no idea that he'd played at Hearts and Kilmarnock. Do you remember him for that?
Not a lot. I don't think he was a big player. I do remember Richard.
Well, no, he's only about 5 feet.
I know, but Richard touched on him playing. I remember him playing with his dad's team. And it was more his dad that I knew about. But again, it just falls into the category. He's out of a job. Does he want to take the conditions to get back in a job? And that's what we'll have to wait and see.
Do you think maybe the way things are done at Hibs, the owners will maybe think, right, we might need to change it a little bit, just because of the way things have gone, and there's maybe like I'll meet you in the middle kind of thing.
You would like to think that there has to be, because the format hasn't been a success, so they need to look at it again.
Right, well, we'll keep an eye on that one, and elsewhere, of course. Perhaps moves afoot here. This is always a strange one. Kevin Thompson. Now, he's worked wonders at Celtic Hearts, and it would appear that Wraith Rovers, a big club, have come in from. Put yourself in Kevin Thompson's shoes, Richard. What would you do?
I think if Wraith Rovers came in, I would move. I think they're a big club. They've got huge support. They've been, they were in the playoffs last season, didn't quite manage this season, but they've been on the edge of having real success in terms of the championship. Decent squad of players. Obviously, I don't know the contract situation with most of them, who's coming, who's going at the end of the season, but they had a decent squad last year, and I think it'd be a really good club to go into, and it almost seems like a more natural progression, because I would imagine he wants to coach at the highest level possible, and that's going from Celtic to then move up to Wraith Rovers would be a natural progression.
Ruffy, does it seem a natural move to you?
I think it does. I think Barry Ferguson thought it was a natural move as well when he went to Alloa. I think maybe Wraith Rovers are a wee bit up a grade than Alloa, but it's a big decision for him. It's progression. As Richard said, they're always there or thereabouts. They're never fighting relegation or anything like that. I think there'll be massive changes at the end of the season at Wraith Rovers, obviously with the carry on with the supporters and the sponsors. So it might be the right time to go there when new investments coming in and new people are coming in, and it's a decision he's got to make.
And when you're talking about one club being bigger than another, Richard, presumably we would have to take it as read that Falkirk are bigger than Raith Rovers because John McGlynn left the former for the latter.
I don't know. I don't know who would be the bigger club out of the two. Obviously I know that Raith Rovers in the Championship and Falkirk are League One. But I think it was, the Raith Rovers needed a clean break from all the stuff that went on with the Goodwillie thing, and I think they just needed a clean break. And obviously there's still going to be more kind of change and turmoil at the end of the season. And I just think it was probably better for both parties that John McGlynn moved on, although he'd done a fantastic job at Raith Rovers. But it's opened up an opportunity for someone like Kevin Thompson, because it would be a fantastic club to go and work at.
Ruffy, you know what I found exciting about the John McGlynn booking, and you're old enough to remember this, there was a wee genius called Tommy McLean who got Morton promoted to the Premier League back in the mid-80s, and Motherwell were going in the opposite direction. Motherwell went down into the first division, but wee Tommy was a wise guy, Richard, right? He knew that Motherwell were a big club. He knew that something was purring at Fir Park. And he left Morton after getting them promoted. He went back down to that first division, took over at Motherwell, and the rest, as they say, is history. Is there a wee bit of that with John McGlynn? Does he see Falkirk? I mean, for Falkirk to be in the bottom end of League One, I think they've got more or less, roughly, the same amount of season ticket holders as we've got at Fir Park. They've got a brilliant support. It's a great club. It seems it was only like yesterday we kept watching them live in the telly playing in these brilliant big playoff games, memorably against like Hibs and clubs like this, getting to cup finals. I mean, they're a big club. Has John McGlynn clearly clocked that?
Oh, I think he has. I think they are a big club. I think it's a tidy stadium. Particularly new stadium, and I think they just need to get things sorted out behind the scenes, because a successful Falkirk team will have, I would say, a home support of 4,000, 5,000.
Absolutely.
Anytime we played them, if it was a big game, there'd be 6,000 or 7,000 at it.
Yeah.
So I think there is a sleeping giant there, but it's a big lot of hard work to get them back to where they were.
Aye. So obviously, I mean, there's going to be loads and loads of moves, players, managers, etc. happening over the next few weeks and months. So Richard, let's return to yourself though, because I love asking football guys stuff like this. I just don't know how it works. First up, tell me, how exactly did you find out that you were leaving Partick Thistle? What's the procedure?
Well, you just you go and have a chat with the manager. We all went in so the game was Friday, went in on the Monday. And we were all there, and you just kind of go in and speak to him, and he said to me that we're not going to offer you and we're going to let you go. And then we had a good chat. I've got a lot of respect for the manager. Had a great 2 years, really enjoyed it, most of it. Obviously just the end of the season was a bit disappointing the way it ended, but winning the league last year, and I said to him it was one of the best seasons of my career in terms of how happy I was at a club last season. So yeah, and it's not that way for everyone. Sometimes if a manager basically just says, right, you're not getting anything and you go out, but the manager and I have got a good respect for each other and we got on really well.
So it was all very amicable.
It was all very amicable. I mean, you might think that I like to be quite contentious, but most of the time I don't. And I'm not going to change his mind if I want to argue or say, "Oh, why you let me go?" or anything like that. That's not the time.
But listen, you've been a man who's been at a few clubs. You've played in many a playing surface. You're sitting opposite a director of Partick Thistle. What would you say to him, honestly?
It's one of the worst pitches I've ever played on.
You're going to get it fixed?
Yeah, it's getting there. I think Queen's Park play their last game this weekend or tomorrow night or something, and then on Monday night we have a sponsors game on the park for the last game of the season, and then it's getting ripped up on.
And then we've got a herd of cows coming on to it.
No, it's getting ripped up on Wednesday, I think.
Good. And even Motherwell, because that's the incredible thing. Folk were astonished, but as we are ripping up the pitch at Motherwell, and it's been ever since everybody compared it to the Somme, and Gretna were playing there for a while, and it was all rutted and sandy and everything. It's been absolutely beautiful. We can't, unfortunately, you'll be aware of that when you've played in it, the kind of wee slope as you go to the far corner. Sadly, I don't think there's anything we can do about it, but it's been like a bowling green. But it's going to get ripped up, and it's going to be one of these hybrid pitches, 95% grass.
Couldn't have sell the pitch to
5%
Thistle, could you?
Well, that's what I'm thinking. In the same way, more carefully, you were there when everybody ripped up the Wembley turf, right? But you get professionals in, and they take it up a sod at a time. I believe that's the technical gardening term, and then you just transport it to Firhill. Would you take that?
Oh, I'd have to ask the people who are the experts in that department, but certainly if it was a top quality, yeah, why not?
That'd be a lovely
Free.
moment. Who could we have in return?
For nothing.
Maybe even Richard. We standby. That could be an idea. And Richard, what's the sort of thing you're still wanting to play? Yeah.
Yeah, I want to play. Yeah.
Can you still play in the Championship then? Yeah.
I believe I can. Obviously, I played, I don't know how many it was, 20 odd appearances last season in the Championship, and felt, you know, I can more than hold my own. You know, there's a lot of young guys who still think they can run within the line, but that doesn't happen often. There's one or two that did, but no. In terms of being able to play in the Championship, I think I can play in the Championship and be comfortable at that level. But it's just getting that opportunity. And
have you had any phone calls yet? Any texts?
No, not from anyone in the Championship.
Where from then?
I'm not going to.
Come on, just give us the league. Just give us what league they're in.
League One.
League One
and League
right.
2. But I don't.
The guys, I'm guessing, who you know for your career, or maybe in management or coaching, they know you're available.
Actually, weirdly not. The two that I've spoke to, or will speak to, sorry, not people I've worked with before, but hopefully I've got enough contacts in the game that something will come along. But yeah, it's just, I realise that I'm a difficult sell for a chairman. You know, I'm 36, I'm going to be 37 in July, and that'll be the first thing that they see. I'm not a long-term prospect, but for a season or two, I'm more than capable of playing in the Championship.
Now, Ruffy, all joking aside about Richard getting punted for your club and all the rest of it, when you have watched Richard, whether it was this season or in previous years, has he still got it? Can he still get something to offer?
Most definitely, yeah. I'm not just saying that. I think any time he's been on the park, he's been an inspiration to the younger players run about. Not a lot of talking on the park for me. I think the experience that Richard's got kept the younger ones in tow, and I'm sure if you ask any of the younger players at Thistle, it'd been a joy to be at the club.
Right, Richard, I would make you an offer right here, live, on the football show, because I've been thinking, me and my wife have been thinking about getting a bit of landscape gardening done. You are bloody brilliant at it, aren't you?
No, I never done the garden.
Football fraternity have been out saying, wow, your back garden, Richard, is astonishing.
Aye, I never.
It's beautiful.
I just sat in it once it was finished.
You've always got some sort of toolkit in your hand.
I bought a barbecue the other day.
Right, okay.
So I'm not bad at that. If you had a barbecue done.
Oh, barbecue. Ange Postecoglou, the Aussies love a barbecue. Your coaching gig there, you can look after the food.
You didn't have to build it. Did you have to build it?
I had to build it, aye. Took me over 2 hours.
Oh, God.
Right, okay. So Richard, my apologies, he doesn't actually build the back gardens himself in the landscape garden. It's another sort of decking that you like to get involved in, isn't it? Who was the guy, the teammate one time? Was it at Hamilton? Did I go at him? Who was that?
Danny Swanson.
That was great. And is that the classic thing at fans? We always get trotted this line out by managers. Oh no, I love seeing players doing that. It means that they're dedicated and they're fighting for the team, and the two of them kissed and made up. Was that the case? Or did it carry on out to the car?
No, it carried on. It quietened down as soon as we were in the dressing room, but mostly because, you know, Tommy Wright would have ripped their heads off if he had the chance, because, you know, we'd let him down, let our teammates down. But there's nothing quite like sitting in the dressing room when you've been sent off for fighting with your own teammate, and Danny and I were sitting as far apart as Ruffy and I, and we'd already kind of made up and spoke to each other, and Hamilton scored in the 93rd minute to win the game 1-0, wow. And the two of us just put our head down between our knees at the same time. And then, you know, the biggest thing for me was Brian Easton came in the dressing room after, and Brian's a big lovely guy, never a bad word to say about MD. And the look that he gave the two of us, it would have cut glass. And I was like, wow, that's when you know you've done something really bad, when you have upset someone like Brian Easton. So it wasn't a great moment in my career, but you know, these things happen when you get two passionate players.
Ruffy, did you ever raise your hands to a teammate after a misunderstanding? Or?
No, never. But I witnessed quite a good one with Colin McAdam and Tommy Burns, and the two of them get sent off. And obviously, as they're going on the park, Colin McAdam was saying to Tommy Burns, "I'm having you when we get inside." And Tommy ran away down to the bottom dressing room at Thistle, got behind the door, locked the door, and as big Colin got to the door, he's shouting, "Come on, I'll take you anytime. Little did Tommy know there was another door round the back that was open. Colin McAdams sneaked round and the two of them had it.
Oh, brilliant, brilliant. And Richard, I'm going to leave the final word to you on today's show. The gentleman who was giving you all sorts of flack down at Somerset Park, how would you sum him up in one word and one word only?
Idiot.
There we go. Well, that's all we've got time for today. Peter Martin will be back with you on the football show tomorrow. He'll sobered up now and he'll get to that ditch in Dundee, won't he?
Yep,
it's not every day your team wins a title, let's be honest. He's entitled to get belted. So, thank you for joining us today. Thanks to Richard Foster, of course, and my big pal Ruffy. Come and join us tomorrow, or come and join Motherwell in Europe. Tatty bye-bye.